Hello guys, it's me Simo Orohara, and in this video I want to talk about one of the special characters in Bleach, about the first Espada Starrk. And I would like to talk about him in my way, because the composition of this character and the subjects it represents undoubtedly touch each one of you in one way or another. Especially since Kobo was creative in making many contradictions in Starrk. Kobo may have been exaggerated in some aspects, or even the end of Starrk wasn't fair. But in the end, Starrk's tragic path is what made him special and loved by most Bleach fans. So first of all, the first thing that excited me the most about Starrk was that Kobo made him that wolf who longed to be part of a pack. Wolves as animals are considered to be one of the most social creatures and always live in packs. Even wolves that are separated from the main pack remain alone for a temporary time until they establish their own pack or enter another one. For this, the wolf was found to be within the pack, and this is exactly what Starrk longed for. And we don't know frankly what Starrk was like before he split into Starrk and Lineage, but there is no doubt that he spent a long time in his true form looking for friends. And here lies the contradiction between Starrk's personality and who is Starrk. Starrk's character was not seeking power like Grimijo, or had malicious and sadistic intentions like Xylo and Noitora, or he was a character seeking rule and leadership like Baragan, or a person immersed in the darkness of nihilism and the complexities of deciphering the essence of the heart. What Starrk wanted is simple: to take a quiet nap and wake up in the warmth of comrades whom he knows and knows him, far from the cold of loneliness. But the identity of Starrk made all his dreams were in vain, because he is hollow. And hollows as a creatures, even in their evolutionary basis, are best in singularity, so that they often devour each other until a certain hollow becomes dominant, whether in the form of a Diokas or Vasto Lord. That's why I always saw Starrk as that character who was found on the wrong side. And because of his loneliness, as we have seen, he divided himself into two personalities. But there is something I find strange about Starrk's life before he became with Aizen Sasuke. If we read again the flashback of Starrk, we will find that he met Aizen in his new appearance, which means after Aizen announced his betrayal to the Gutei 13. While in the flashback of Baragan, we saw that Aizen was still dressed as a regular captain, which means before he announced the betrayal. At the same time, Aizen noticed the presence of Halibel, who was in contact with Baragan, so they knew each other. Which leads me to wonder why Starrk didn't head towards Baragan before Aizen recognized him. Was Starrk's location too far from Baragan's location, for example? Because Starrk wouldn't mind being under Baragan's rule. He's not interested in leadership, as we all know. But at the same time, I doubt that Baragan would have accepted him as a follower, simply because Starrk's Ryatsu would have eliminated his entire army. We noticed that most of Baragan's army was made up of hollows and some Adyukas. That's why I doubt that Starrk and Baragan have ever met before. What I think is that Starrk had been in Weak Commando for a short time, so that he might have been in an area far from Baragan and was there looking for friends. And during that period, Aizen came and removed Baragan from his throne and started watching some Vasto Lord and preparing for them the reasons that would make them join. As I said, Aizen was watching Halibel from afar, and he made this Adyukas attacks her and then convinced her to join him. As for Starrk, it wasn't difficult for Aizen because he knew exactly what he's going through. He knew he was suffering from loneliness, and so one of the key words that Aizen Sasuke used was friends. He told him that he was looking for friends, and Starrk directly answered that he's looking for that too. That's why Aizen may have deliberately made Starrk the last Espada to join the group, so that his coming would fit what Starrk wanted. And Starrk said, "I envy the weak." and wished that he was weak, but he added that if this option is not possible, he likes to be with strong friends. And this is what Aizen provided him with. 9 Espada with so much power that they can hold his Ryatsu. Of course, Stark is not stupid to think that they are his real friends, or that he will have social ties with them. No, Stark's intelligence is supernatural. What Stark showed in his fight against the Shinigami shows how quick-witted he is. What Stark wanted was to be in group and feel the warmth of it, and didn't care what others do. And this may even some of us live in real life. Sometimes you are at home with some family members and you may not talk to each other all day and everyone in separate room, but at the same time you may not feel alone because you know you are in the same place. Not the same as if you live alone and know that there is no one near you. This is what Stark lived. All he could do was lie down and sleep in his private room. That's why he didn't care much about the cause of fighting for others. Even when Aranyu died, he said to Lilinet, "What do you want me to do?" And when Baragan was killed, he wanted to stop fighting, because Stark reflects those characters who likes to keep the water stagnant. He didn't want to fight any battle or engage in serious fights. Unfortunately for him, Kobo made him fight Kyoraku first, one of the most insidious and cunning characters in combat. And second, and this is the most painful, is that he was fighting his enemies in the form of teams. And in no way can Stark and Lilinet be compared to Kyoraku and Okitake or Rose and Love, because Stark and Lilinet are originally one person, while Kyoraku is Kyoraku, Okitake is Okitake, etc. And when I said those fights were a painful thing for Stark, it's not that he is fighting an unfair fight, which is true, but because he fights alone, and fighting characters that are friends and comrades is such a painful thing when you hate being alone. And Okitake and Kyoraku are friends since childhood. Rose and Love have a solid relationship, while Stark, who longed to have friends like Okitake for example, or Love, was fighting alone. You can imagine the situation Stark was in. Stark's last moment was one of the saddest scenes in Bleach. As I said, Stark is not a naive character. He knew in his heart that Aizen Sasuke was using them and would not do anything to help them. But Stark accepted this because at least he found something he was looking for with Aizen, and that was to be in the middle of friends, and that in itself was considered by Stark as a debt he should repay for Aizen. That's why we find that Stark, even in the last moment of his death, did not regret his decision, or a character who was forced to pledge allegiance to Aizen, such as Baragan or Grimijo or even Halibel at the end of the Arankar arc. But I think if Stark was found within a pack that appreciates and established strong bonds with him, he would have fought with his full strength for them, because it's those bonds that might make him fight for them. In the end, the manifestations of Stark's attempts to get rid of loneliness, we see it in several things, starting with his division of himself into Stark and Lilinet, as well even his own release, which means wars, and the manifestation of the pack we saw in his last technique that he used against both Rose and Love was a deep manifestation of how Stark was seeking to be with the pack. So guys, this is my video for Stark. What do you think about this character? Tell me in the comments, and see you guys in my next video.